Hi, my name is Carmen Mills, and I am a regional consultant for the Integrated Academic and Behavior Systems Division of North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. In short, what I do is I support the implementation of a multi-tiered system of support across the state. I lead system works at the state level, and then I also support charters in the Southwest and Sand Hills region. Today, I'm going to share some information with you about how you might want to think about getting started with a multi-tiered system of support and what implementation might look like for you at your school. So I'm going to use a tool that's called Getting Started MTSS Coordinators for Cohort 5. Cohort 5 is our current cohort for most of our charters and non-traditional LEAs across the state. Right now, we are partnering with well over 100 charters and non-traditional LEAs across the state to help think about what are those implementation supports that you may need. And so if you partner with us, that means that you'll have access to modules, which I'll talk about, and additional resources, as well as access to regional team meetings. In addition, you'll have access to support from one of your regional consultants. And so today, as a regional consultant, my work is to really just help you think through what that might look like. Although this presentation will be extremely short, I invite you to reach out to your regional consultant for more information or to hear more about what's happening across your region or across the state. So the first thing that I want to share on this tool is helping you think about how you start with the work of MTSS implementation. One of the things I will caution you with is that this is not the work of one person, nor should it be an add-on. NTSS is not something that you do or an add-on to what you already have in place at your school. It really is the work of schools. And the way that we think about it at the state level is really thinking about it as a school improvement framework. And so again, it should really be all around the systems and the practices and the data that you use to support all of your students, and then to provide additional to support to those students who may need something else that's not necessarily provided in the core. So again, in thinking about that and the level of work that includes, one of the critical pieces is first identifying your MTSS coordinator or your leadership team. And that MTSS leadership team does not have to be specific to MTSS. It could be your school improvement team. It could be a team that you already have in place of leaders, but it should definitely include the coordinator, who is our contact. If you decide to join cohort 5, you also want to include a list of general and special educators, those people who have knowledge around instruction or behavior or any other curriculum specialist that you think would add to a conversation around academics, behavior, and social emotional learning at your school level. Here you'll note that one of the things that we ask people to do as you join cohort 5 is to actually sign a partnership agreement. And that is just saying that, hey, we'd like to partner with you across the state so that we have an idea of how many districts, LEAs, schools, non-traditional LEAs are working with us and accessing the materials that we have provided for the state. In addition, I did mention that you will want to identify an MTSS coordinator, and that is the person who will serve as the liaison for the school. That person will facilitate this work and may take on more of a role to implement MTSS, but that work, the entire team will actually work together to actually make sure that it happens and is implemented well. And so here is a resource or tool that you could look at to just kind of identify who the MTSS coordinator might be, or the role that the MTSS coordinator would take on, as well as the MTSS leadership team. Every resource that I share with you today will be a part of this document, and I will provide you access to this document as well so that you have these resources available to you. In addition to that, I mentioned earlier that you always have access to an IABS regional consultant. Here is a list of all the consultants across the state. As a member of cohort 5, you would have access to myself, Rhonda Harrell, or Jennifer Phelps as one of your regional consultants. If you are interested to see who else is a part of cohort 5 or just a cohort in general, we've also provided information around additional MTSS and PBIS coordinators, and you can look at them by region. That way, if you wanted to reach out to another school or another coordinator and just ask questions about it, you have access to that as well. And then finally, in this top section of this resource, you have access to the regional MTSS team meetings. So remember that I said as a part of cohort 5, you would have access to our support. That support for cohort 5 includes 3 face-to-face meetings per year on designated topics, as well as access to 2 virtual meetings on topics that relate to MTSS implementation. This year, our regional meetings have been focused around intervention planning, and we allow coordinators to come together with small teams to think about action planning, implementation planning, to ask questions, to network, and to just get general information about best practices across the state. In addition, we have a variety of helpful resources as you are embarking on this implementation journey. The one thing that I think is critical is that one of the tools that we've created are our MTSS online modules. These modules are self-paced and they are available in Nisus. They are also available as Google Sites should you not have access to Nisus. And they have information, they have resources, they have tools, they have videos, they even include activities that you might want to use with your leadership team to really help you think about those critical components that support a multi-tiered system of support. So as you can see here, module 1 is all about establishing readiness. It's the identification of your school leadership team and the work that you'll be doing, your common vision and your compelling why are all a part of that module 1, as well as really identifying those core level supports. Because what we know is that you can't intervene your way out of a faulty core. What you put in place for all students is the most critical piece of instruction, curriculum, environment. Those things are very crucial to the support that you provide to students. Module 2 is all around those intervention systems. So once we've identified this wonderful core support for all of our students, that's that idea about what do I do for those students who are not who are not still meeting grade level standards. And so you can see module 2 is designed all around that. And module 3 is all around the policy in 2020 that will change in terms of identification for students with specific learning disabilities. Again, I want to remind you that these are all self-paced modules. I encourage you to make sure that your MTSS coordinator and members of your leadership team are digging into this content to learn more about MTSS and implementation across the state. Our live binder, which many people have already seen. It also includes resources and tools that are available to you that work in conjunction with our modules. And so oftentimes when you look at this live binder, there are a million resources here. So there's nothing that you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel for implementation support. Our modules are available to help support learning. And then the live binder is available to help you in terms of putting resources and practices into place, and it aligns with those modules. So just 2 pieces of information or 2 resources that would be critical for you and your team here would be those modules in that live binder. As you join cohort 5, you will have access to the cohort 5 materials and resources folder. In that folder, we house any webinars that we've created or done before. We also house any resources or materials that are specific just to cohort 5, including regional networking meeting materials from previous meetings as well. And so here we talk a little bit about just how you would support your leadership MTSS team through course participation, but also through implementation. So again, that's where you'll find that resource that just identifies who your MTSS coordinator is and things to consider for your leadership team. But then also you'll find here just some ideas around what that work could look like in your team. One, you might want to use things like the reflection journal as you're going through the modules to really help you plan out some of that important content and the learning checklist. We've also included some possible agendas for you for those meetings related to that module content. So again, really thinking about how we can be the best support to you by making sure you don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel to have these conversations around quality core and intervention planning for your students. To learn a little bit more about what those tasks are that should be happening in conjunction with Module 1, you'll have access to the Module 1 milestones or Year 1 task that's available in your Live Binder and also a part of our module series. And so, what it helps you do is really organize that work of a multi tiered system of support implementation. What you'll find is that, again, this work isn't necessarily an add on, but it's really that thoughtful planning about the systems and the practices that you're already putting in place across your school. And so here, what you'll find in this is just really thinking about how do I begin for, how do I think about readiness for implementation? How do I get started? So there's overview videos, there's resources and tools that'll help you really think about what those critical components are as it relates to a multi-tiered system of support. And I'll open one of these links here because I think it's really critical for you to understand that when I say that a multi-tiered system of support is around all of the work that you do in terms of a school, it is. Because if we want to get to that three-tiered instructional or intervention model, which is what most people think about, that triangle, if you will, of supports to students, you have to have leadership in place to do that. You have to have an infrastructure to build capacity for your teachers to be able to actually implement quality core instruction and create the environments that we need for students to thrive. You have to have opportunities for communication and collaboration and data that you're problem solving around and data that you're evaluating your practices with. So again, when we think about a multi-tiered system of support, we are thinking about all of those critical components needed and not necessarily an add-on. So you'll have access to all of that information here as well. Just in general, our IABS division has also created some additional tools that will help you as you think about implementation of a multi-tiered system of support. One is our FAMS, and the FAMS is an assessment of your implementation of a multi-tiered system of support that allows you to think about some action planning. We are also coming out with a platform on the ECATS module that will allow you to really think about your documentation of intervention planning, your core support plan, things like that, that will be available to you in the near future. So I did want to just share this with you and also invite you to think about joining our cohort 5. I will provide you with a link to, again, this resource that I'm sharing with you, as well as a partnership agreement link, as well as an opportunity for you to join cohort 5. I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions, any thoughts, any ideas, or would like to chat about this further, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you again for your time.